Again, I'm John Flo. I'm waiting my guest to come in. Have a special live today. You know, we're gonna talk about bridging the gap, Africans and African Americans, and he should be here very soon. He's coming right now, so I'm just waiting on the guest. Nani King, what's going on, man? You see me? You see me? You see me? You see me? I got the whole, you know what I mean? Continental Hustles on the logo. Yeah.
I mean, I see you, man.
Yeah, man. Here we are.
Yo,
Definitely,
man, I see you.
definitely,
I see you.
definitely.
I have the
Represent.
Continental
Gotta
shirts too,
represent.
so we're even.
Yeah, everybody in the chat.
You know what's up?
Every
You know what time it is?
yeah, of course, man. Of course, man. Everybody in the chat. Where you tell us where you from. Tell us where you from. Tell us where you from in the chat. Yeah, man. If you in the chat, just tell us where you're from. We're gonna start off. So Nani King, how you want to start this off, man? If nobody comes in and tell us where they're from, we're just gonna get started.
First of all, man, we just want to say hi to the chat. This is
Mm-hmm.
Continental Osmond, and we're just here basically try to talk about important stuff and also mingle with everybody, because we are continental. So, wherever you're from, just and we hope you're having a good day too.
Yeah, definitely,
You know,
definitely. Early blessings to everybody that's supporting our channel. We're we're just over 3,500. So we're doing pretty good, and we want to do things like this. The main things that we want to do is educate, inform, and entertain. So that's what we're here to do for y'all. And you know talking about this, man, is like talking about this subject right here, because there's a lot going on right now. August 1st was like supposed to be a boycott or something like that of African businesses and stuff like that. And I'm like, man, what do you think about that? I don't even think you even heard. You outside my house? All right, cool. I'll see you later. But yeah, yeah. So,
I
what do you think about that?
good.
How you doing?
Yeah.
Thanks for the subscribe, by the way, Kayla. But yeah. So, what do you think about that? Like, because I think when we talked about the whole African boycott stuff that was going on TikTok and everything, like, did you even hear about that?
No, personally, it didn't make sense to me. Especially coming from like a Nigerian background, um, as an African myself. The animosity between African Americans and Africans basically is just not supposed to be, man. We're supposed to be brothers. But I saw the post on TikTok and social media, people talking down on African businesses, and yo, man, it was strange to me, honestly, because we're supposed to be partners in this. Africans are not the enemy, and then to an African, the Black Americans are not the enemies.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, man. And that's all part of just being misinformed. I'm actually at a African research library, so I wanted to share some. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, I wanted to share some books with you guys that I haven't read yet, but this is real good information right here. Like, it's called I know it's a little backwards, but it's the Miseducation of the Negro. All right, by Carter G. Woodson. All right. And I want to check this book out, man, because it has from what I've researched, it has information about what we're talking about right now, and it is like a misinformation. It's based off of misinformation and miseducation, you know. So
Yeah, for sure.
yeah,
Mm,
yes.
no, man. Before, like you've been to Africa, you've been to Nigeria. Conceptions that you
Wait, say it again.
like before you visited Africa, before you visited
Mm-hmm.
Nigeria. I'm sure
Mm-hmm.
that you had preconceived notion before you visited. Like
Of course.
what were they? Yeah, what were they? And when you visited, like the reality of the things that you met, were they as the preconceived notions, or like were they different?
Well, so the big thing is, of course, like the whole scammer situation and stuff like that. It was very, like, at first, like that's what America and everybody thinks that all Nigerians are like. For the most part, that's what they depict. But so when I first landed in Nigeria for the first time, it was one of those things where, like, I was cautious. I was very cautious. I didn't really My trust level was really low. So I was like, because I mean, don't get me wrong. I traveled to a lot of countries, and of course, you take precautions no matter what. You know, there you go. Shout out. They said shout out, and I will sub, and, like, thank you, Mr. Willie, thank you. So yeah, so yeah, so when I first landed in Nigeria, they have people called
Yes,
money
thank
changers, right?
you.
Money.
Thank you also,
Yeah.
Peyton.
Yep. Thank you. Yeah, they have
Yeah,
people called money changers, and that was that
yeah,
was that was foreign to me. They're pretty much people that exchange money for you on the street. Like they have money or whatever, and then they'll exchange it for you for their exchange rate. And it's a quick and convenient way of changing your US dollar to naira. And as soon as I got it was like as soon as I got off the in the departure, like, they were out there. And I didn't expect that, because I like money changes and like right there and then and there, not understanding how the convenience of it, because I thought about it afterwards. I'm like, yeah, that's convenient, man. And but, like, I just didn't know. I'm like, I don't trust these guys. What if they trying to rob me or whatever, whatever the case was. And that was like one of the main things. But once I got accustomed and I warmed up, and I was like, all right, and then started understanding certain things, and I was like, yeah, 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 you know,
yeah,
yeah,
man. That's actually interesting because anybody visiting Nigeria for the first time, that's usually their first impression. Before you came, we had like mutual friends and family from your side that were
hmm,
in Nigeria first. And the first time they went to exchange money, they were literally scared because it
yeah,
was
yeah,
like in the
yeah,
evening, and everybody's gas was up because basically this is just cultural difference, and it's normal. You know,
yeah,
I haven't been to one of the cultural. I haven't been to America yet, but one thing
hmm,
that really strikes me as like this happens in America is like
hmm,
say a gun store. Like you literally walk into like a supermarket and they sell guns there with the bullets
yeah.
and everything. I'm like, what?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, yeah. That's like one of those things where, the cultural differences and everything, like, the comparing and contrasting everything. So yeah, man, it's it's definitely a different world. It's definitely a different world. And I know from experience, just being in both places, living here, and then going there and visiting and stuff like that, and I'm learning more every day. So that's a good thing. You know. and I'm getting more in touch with like historical things and just everything in general. Yeah. So what about
Yeah,
the yeah,
let's even talk about the. Okay. Yeah, continue,
oh
continue.
yeah, so let's talk about the myth busting stuff, like like how like the things that you've seen on TV that made you. What are some things that you've seen on TV that gave you a notion about African Americans?
I mean, on TV, I think this is just like a Hollywood thing.
Mm-hmm.
But on TV, African Americans are usually very loud people. They are
Mm-hmm.
loud, uh, annoying to an extent.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
They basically Raz, man, basically Raz. But personally, I did not take that as a like as a bad thing, so to say.
Mm-hmm.
Because for most Africans, I don't think we have a preconceived notion against Black Americans, but it's just the way they depict them in Hollywood movies. Because up until social media came, like there was
Mm-hmm.
no real way of knowing exactly how, say, Black Americans behave, or like, say, Africans
Mm-hmm.
behave, unless you travel there. But before social media, there was really no way. The only way that we could have an idea about your culture basically is through pictures. you know Not pictures now, music and movies rather. you know but African Americans are always portrayed as lousy people, as noisy people. What's in
Mm-hmm.
prison? They're always
Mm-hmm.
marginalized, and they always have baby mamas. You can see a 16-year-old girl, a 16-year-old girl, and she already has a child
Yeah.
and
I
stuff.
mean, it is true though.
So
It is true. Sometimes, it is true. It is true. Like, but like at the end of the day, it's like they make it seem like is everybody. Everybody has baby mama drama and all that stuff.
yeah.
Yeah. But is there anything else more? And is there anything more that TV? Like what about how they portray us as like criminals and stuff like that on the movies? Who am I today?
So
Yeah, yeah.
well,
I'm
first
just.
of all,
Oh, let's talk about that. Let's talk
yeah,
about that. So this is a
yeah,
traditional
yeah.
Nigerian wear. This is called a senator. You know, very comfortable. You know, down to the pants. You know what I mean? So it's nice, man. It's really nice, man. It's really comfortable. Talk to this guy if you're interested in getting any type of African clothes done, and we could make that happen. And this is
Yes,
what
sir.
I get my clothes custom from this guy,
Yes.
Nani King. So this is of course I got the logo Continental Hustles on there. Got to represent, and yeah, I just hit my knee. All right, good. Thank you, Angelique. Thank you. But
Shout
yeah,
out,
yeah, yeah, man. Shout out.
shout out, Angelina. Yeah,
Yeah,
we appreciate your you texting in the chat, and all that. We appreciate you, and you're welcome to Continental Oasis too. I'm
yeah,
sure you probably joining our stream for the first time. We just come
yeah,
here, talk about things going on all around the world at times, talk about cultural things, in the Black American culture, African culture, and everywhere, because we are continental Aussies. And
yes,
just to touch base on what you mentioned. I think I mentioned that thing about Black Americans, especially in movies. They're always in prison. Like, they would show a prison scene, and up to 70 to 80% of the inmates there are Black Americans. And
mm-hmm,
it just gives you that notion that, oh man, like, Black people are dangerous, Black Americans are dangerous, and all that stuff. Always in drugs, doing
Mm-hmm.
or anybody the first time think would they just have this preconceived notion to be on their guard when a black person is near them or something, which is a very bad
Yeah.
notion, honestly.
Yeah. And the incarceration things, y'all do your own research on that. And you'll see why there's mostly, black Americans in prison and stuff like that. Y'all guys do your own research. I'm not gonna talk about that, but yeah, man, y'all do your own research on that. Just look it up, man. Let's look it up. And it's a sad thing. It's very sad. It just makes the world believe that that's the case, because when you look at the numbers and the statistics, they're like, oh, okay, that is true. So when they put the things on movies and stuff like that, when they make us seem like all like drug dealers and criminals and stuff like that, that's that it's sucking the world in to believe that that's the case. So it's a sad thing, but you guys do your own research on that. I'll encourage you to do that. So yeah, definitely. So
Yeah, for sure.
yeah.
And
Hmm.
let me even ask you, let me just ask, how has like of course you grew up in America, you were born in America, you're American. How has life been so far, or just describe how life is for like a black American, like a black American basically. How's life been growing up in America, being in America basically?
Well, what just life as a black American is it's
Mm-hmm.
a lot. I would say it is a lot tougher. You know, there's a lot. There's a lot going on and pertaining to that, and this has just been systematic things in history. Just goes back in history. You know, one of the things I want to talk about is like as far as my experience. I'll give you my experience as far, because since we're talking about like the prison and stuff like that, most like the statistics show that a lot of African Americans and minorities being in prison. So so I'll give you an example. One time I was with my cousin, right? And we got pulled over, you know. This is when it's called stop and frisk. Yeah, it was like stop and frisk in New York, where they could randomly come and search you if they see something. Like it doesn't have to be a probable cause. They'll just randomly come and search you and stuff like that. So my cousin didn't have like tints or anything like that, or like the car wasn't, it didn't look like suspicious. Nothing looked suspicious. But they pulled us over, right? They took us out the car and they searched us. They looked inside the vehicle, everything, right? That like that. Make sure, and then they just to tell us that our taillights is busted, which it wasn't. Just to tell us so you see what I'm saying, right? That's like, you know, a that's like a normal thing, man. That's like a normal thing. Later, Angelina. Yeah, that's like a normal thing, like I'm not saying all police officers are like that, or all law enforcement is like that, but I've dealt with it firsthand. That's from I'm just talking from my experience, and I'm pretty sure there's many other experiences that went through probably worse, worse. So you know, the question is, do I feel, singled out? Yeah. Yeah. I definitely felt singled out, just because I'm a black American,
But
yeah, yeah,
okay,
like driving, yeah, just driving.
yeah, also in line with a lot of things that I see on social. Um, but do you think Black Americans are really marginalized, or they've been programmed to think that they are marginalized?
I think a little bit of both. I believe a little bit of both, man. It's
because
programming,
yeah, yeah,
yeah, programming and marginalization. Because it is what they feed us in the media, is what they feed us. And it's even worse, and it's even worse now because of social media and stuff like that. But it's just something that you have to be aware of. And then it starts at home. Really, it really starts at home. If you have parents that could just show you the way and show you, like, hey, I know they put this out there, but this is not it. What I mean, you have to think this way, and go high and think yourself as on a higher level. So yeah, man. It's that's it is America is, what do you like? Because all right, so I want to talk about also people wanting to come migrate to America from Africa and Nigeria and stuff like that, and want to look searching for better opportunities and stuff like that. Um, what is the like? Because what? How do you view America um on the outside looking in? As far as opportunity goes. Okay, so the question asked was, how do you view America from the outside looking in, as far as opportunity goes? Because there's a lot of Nigerians that want to come here for a better opportunity and stuff like that. How do you look at it, like, from the outside looking in? Yeah, you heard me. I don't know if I think the network is a little thing, but it's okay. It's okay. But we'll get back to that. We'll get back to that. Get back to that quote. Yeah, hold on. Yeah, we'll get back to that. We'll get back to that. Definitely get back to that. Um, but the question is, how do you feel? Like, how do you look at America from the outside looking in, as far as opportunities go? Because there's a lot of Nigerians that want to come here for opportunities, and and yeah, like that. It's just one of those things where, like, how do you
yeah.
how do you look at it from the outside? What's your perspective from the outside looking in? Oh, it's like an it the it's inaudible, but yeah, it's okay. It's okay. Um, we'll definitely get back. Yeah, it
Mm-hmm.
was you was inaudible for a second. Like, I couldn't hear you.
Seen as generally with Nigerians and Africans, but also with even your neighbors.
Hmm.
Can
Yeah, just a little bit. I don't know if the chat. Can you
So
hear?
what I
Because
was
I
saying
like
is,
it's like a little choppy there.
yeah, chat. If you can hear me, just say hi. If you can hear me, just say hi.
Yeah,
Just type a hi in the chat. Yeah,
I could hear
but
you. Yeah, I could hear you now. But
okay,
you heard
good,
the question,
okay,
right?
good. Yeah, I did. I think I did. I think I
All right,
did.
cool. So you good?
So, so I think America generally is viewed as a land of opportunities. You
Hmm.
know, not just for Nigerians or Africans, but also like worldwide. It has always been seen like that. That's why, your borders, the border from Mexico and everywhere, like people are trooping into America trying to look for better opportunities. But I believe that, if I were to make my way into America now, I mean,
Hmm.
is to definitely, you know, uh, look for better opportunities and, better education, better healthcare, response and all that stuff.
All right. All right. Mm-hmm.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
Nigerian
Yeah, absolutely.
are sort of like the most educated, the best
Mm-hmm.
educated people.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, for real? That's the case? So, right, right. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Exactly.
So I Nigerian spirit, like wherever we are going to, wherever we
Mm.
like to
Yeah, like
be the best.
definitely, definitely. Yeah, definitely. Like that's the statistics. Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
so yeah, like shout out to everybody in the chat as well. Like wherever, if you are tuning in from any part of the world, just let us know. You know, we have gone half, the program. We started with a lot of, the cultural differences and, between Americans and Africans and all that stuff. And I think one of the next series, flow, I think we should really talk
Mm-hmm.
about how our both world came together basically, because
Oh
I'm
yeah.
Nigerian staying in Nigeria, and you're Black American staying in America. What brought us together, what's the journey so far basically, and what we've been able to achieve together, what we've been able to work you know together and all that, and the projects, even future projects that will come as well, because we are
Mm-hmm.
always busy, we're always working, we're always
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that's absolutely, absolutely. And we just like Nani said, man, we're both creative and talented people, and with Continental Hustles is the representation of that. So, what our sauce and our seasoning is what we put blood, sweat, and tears is what we put into this. So we're trying to be here for you every day, and just work on it every single day, brick by brick. So it's many more to come. You know, we just finished doing a documentary. You know, we did a music video. We did a music video like the other year. So it's like, you know, the best is yet to come, and you know, we're doing everything in our power to bring this out. You know, bring everything out, bring all our talents and gifts, and put it on the table and into the pot. You know, put it into the pot and cook it, man. We gonna cook. We definitely gonna always be cooking. So, you know, I just wanna touch base on the term African American and where it comes from. You know, so the term African American was pushed into the mainstream by Jesse Jackson in 1988. He wanted us to have a name that connects us to heritage, like Irish American or Italian American. So it's not about separating, it's about reclaiming, right? Some people forget that. You know, some people really, really forget about the reclaim part. You know, they think it's just, and I mean, some people don't even want to step away from the term and probably not know where it came from and what was the whole purpose of the term African American, you know, and they want to disassociate themselves from that African heritage, which you can't run away from, because at the end of the day, that's your lineage. You know, that this is something that you can't lock. You could choose to run away from it, like, you know, but it was always be in you. You know, so it's like, why not tap into that? Why not learn your history and see where you come from? You know, there's things out there where you could do, even if you don't, if you in denial. Take a DNA test, take a African ancestry test or something, you know, and find out for yourself and see where you come from, and you know, then you'll see, then you know, like, wow, like this is part of me. You know, you probably have gifts and talents that doesn't even come from you. It just comes from the past and what your past built up to get there. You see, it could get that deep. You dig so deep into your past. You do something. Don't know why you're talented at this one thing, but at the end of the day, you dig into your past. You be like, oh, that's why I'm good at that. That's why I'm so good at that. It's already been the way has been paved. You know, so that's the thing, man. That's the thing that that's what the miseducation and the misinformation, that's where it is. You know, that's where it really is. Thanks for people that liked on the chat. Thanks for people that's joined the chat and subscribe. Thank you so much, by the way. But yeah, man, it's a big phenomenon. So one of the things that I want to touch on is, you know, because when I was growing up as a kid, right? When we talk, because remember, we looked at commercials with flies and you know, that's what we looked at. That's what we saw on TV about what Africans was.
Africans, like, yeah.
Always hungry, flies in their mouth. I've seen a TikTok where I seen a TikTok talk about the same thing that's going on currently about this you know, just taking yourself away from your culture, you know, your original culture. This guy on TikTok was saying, "Oh, forget Africans. I don't even want to be. I'm American and stuff like that." And you know, Africans bathe in cow piss and all that stuff. Like they were saying things like that, But that's all misinformation. You know, that's all information. That's what the media wants you to believe. Like that's what all Africans are. All Africans are hungry. All Africans have flies all over their face and stuff like that. Yo, there's people in America that's even worse. You know, there's people in America that's even worse. Believe it or not. You know, the amount the homelessness that's going on in America right now is ridiculous. You would think there's some countries out there. I've been to some countries where you don't see one homeless person, one displaced person. You know, and that's one of the things that yeah, man, and it's it's just misinformation, really. You know, just misinformation.
I get that, but
Hmm.
Africa through the lens documentaries they do on BBC or CNN, and all these traditional media, like they've always depicted Africa as, oh, you have lions going
All
around, you have
jungle.
giraffe, you have animals, you know,
All jungle. Yeah, yeah, like
like the
y'all all like,
jungle,
and
all
it
jungle, and
yeah, yo, it's crazy because even movies like Tarzan, like they make it seem like it make it seem like, yo, African is all jungle, and then here comes the savior, you know what I mean, which is a white British man, that grew up in the jungle with the monk with the gorillas and stuff like that. And it's just all these little things causes misinformation and misrepresentation, you know. Hold on. Yeah, hold on. Yeah. Oh, okay, okay. I couldn't hear you for a second, but yeah. But yeah. Yeah, man. So let's so so yeah, go ahead.
and do you know
Hmm.
do you know something I find
Tell me the thing. Yes, of course. That's like a big time movie. One of my favorite movies.
stereotypical coming to America? I remember the movie that starred um
Hmm.
you
Yeah.
remember the movie?
Just a little bit. It was a little choppy, but I'm in.
Can you that walking around, like they showed a scene when lions and giraffes and elephants basically
Hmm.
were moving around, and I'm like, yo man, like there's literally nowhere in Africa where you have animals moving around. There's no place like that unless you go to like a conservation. If you go to a
Hmm.
conservation, like, that's where you'd find them. But they don't typically walk around, and I think that's just you know what Hollywood wants people to see.
Yeah.
And also, I saw a TikTok today as well. When they cast like an African character in Hollywood movies, they expect them to talk like, I want to go there, like the way,
Yeah, yeah,
you
yeah.
know the
Or they
way
or
the
the comedians that
stereotypical way.
go the comedians that go
Exactly, exactly,
yeah,
exactly.
yeah, yeah. Think that's how all
No,
Africans talk. Yeah, man. Hmm.
points, and then she was doing an interview today that the reason why that they would in that either you speak in a certain way, you speak in that way that they want you to speak, and
Hmm.
either you are dark skinned, like for instance,
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah, you there? Yeah. Nani King, you there?
Yeah, can
Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah, you was talking
you hear
about
me here
Lupita?
now?
Lupita?
Um,
Yeah, you was talking about Lupita?
so ye- yeah, yeah. Way look Hollywood because she feels dark skin like an African with that accent, but there's always a misrepresentation. Anyway, there's always a misrepresentation of like Africa in Hollywood movies and movies generally.
Mm-hmm.
They always want to box us into something, into making like an African accent where there is nothing like an African accent. There's like a Nigerian accent, a Ghanaian accent, accents that are distinct from different countries in Africa you know. So it's just that, they just want to box us into one thing, whereby like, there are varieties and there are unique cultures, but they just, in Hollywood, for example, they just want to like bring everybody into one culture, which is really not it at all. And I think that's also where a bulk of the misrepresentation of Africa comes in from as well. Your screen is frozen. Can you hear me? All right. So sorry for the brief intermission. We're just
I'm back.
yeah.
I'm back.
Sorry
I'm
for
back.
the little yeah. Can you hear me?
Yeah, yeah, I can hear you. I can
So
hear you.
welcome back. Welcome back. We're just talking
Yeah,
about
yeah,
something. I think we're having like some technical difficulty. The network and all that stuff. You know.
yeah, absolutely.
Um. So welcome. If you're just joining us live, we're just really talking about important issues about African and Black Americans and the struggle between the two culture and all that good stuff. So in, if you are if you're interested,
Yep, yep. Yeah, definitely, definitely. We're gonna talk about a lot of things like this. Bridging the gap. You see, so I'm gonna just explain the whole thing.
and
This is my hand, and this is Nani's hand right here. You know what I mean? This represents like African American, and this app represents the Nigerian. With the beads and stuff like that. It's kind of like it represents an exchange. It represents an exchange and bridging the gap and finally coming together. That's why I made it like that. That's why I made the picture like that. So, you know, that's what it represents. Yeah. Yeah. So anybody in the chat, drop a comment. Tell me where you're from. Tell me where you're from. Tell me where you're from. We're talking about bridging the gap. African Americans and Americans, coming together as one and you know, Just drop where you from in the chat. You know, we want to interact as well. You know, this is an educational segment. You know, we're gonna be doing these every so often. So yeah, yeah, man. So there was one thing. There was one thing piece of. So let's touch. You want to touch on history? About like a little bit of history.
What?
You want to touch on a little bit of history, like talk about the conference, the Berlin conference.
Yeah, the Berlin Conference.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you know, before in Africa, before the white people like Europeans, basically, um, before the slave trade, the Berlin Conference was well after the slave trade, by the way, because officially,
Mm-hmm.
the slave trade was officially illegal at that time. That was in 1887, if I'm not mistaken,
Yep.
or thereabouts. So, the Berlin Conference was a conference held in Berlin. Berlin is the capital of Germany. Various European powers, European states and countries, and all the lords, they came together in Berlin to hold a because slave trade is because now they are developing machines, so there is no need for manual labor. Now they've discovered that Africa has natural resources, all sort of the goods basically. Just like the way you know, I've seen it. I've seen it in American movies where
Mm-hmm.
in drug movies basically where they have like their own um, was the boundaries and their own terrain basically. So if, for instance, a particular location has been shared to the English people.
Mm-hmm.
The French people, they can't go in there because if they go in there, they'll be violating the pacts that they made in the conference.
Mm-hmm.
So this is just a layman explanation of the context of this conference that the European powers came together to hold. And basically, the purpose of this conference is colonialism, and also to exploit and explore Africa. You know, because it was briefly after this conference now that the English, who were like the world power at the time, English were like the most powerful country at the time. They took a very huge chunk of Africa, like they took from the northern. In fact, they took from the northern to the western and to the eastern parts of Africa, like Egypt, Morocco, I believe Tunisia, all these countries were all colonized by the British. Then it comes to the west coast of Africa, to Ghana, to Nigeria, to the Gambia, to um, you know all those places. And then the French basically they took some part of Africa as well, Senegal, and
Mm-hmm.
and also some part of Central Africa, and like that. They shared Africa, among the world powers of the world. So this is what the Berlin Conference um, was, and the aftermath of that conference, was basic exploitation of African, natural resources, and also exploitation of African labor as well. and even till today, we still have an adverse effect or like a ripple effect of that conference. Till today, we still have it. We still have effects. The effect of it is still there through neo-colonialism. Okay, although there is no, we have been colonized. Like colonialism is not there anymore. But like we still have some interference of the Europeans, the white power in Africa. I'm still
Yeah,
meddling in the business of Africa. Hello, can you hear
yeah,
me? Are
yeah.
you there?
I can hear you. I can hear you clear.
Okay, okay, because
And
your
I'm
screen is
just
blank at this point.
my screen is black.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, I just have a green screen up of just the resources in Africa. So when they did that Berlin conference or whatever, they
See,
pretty
it seems
much
like
put
I
a
can't hear you, but like your voice is the volume is very low.
volume is low. Can you hear me now?
Like the volume of your, I don't know, man. Like the volume is very low.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know what's going on. But can you hear me? Yeah. If anybody's in the chat, let me know if you can hear me.
I can hear you quite alright, just that the volume is kind of low.
Oh, it's low. Okay. I don't know what's going on, but I'm here. I'm here. Yeah. So so basically what happened was they had a meeting. They had a meeting and they put up a map. All these European countries, they put up a map on the board. They put up a map and then they was like, pick a
Like
pick a
the
country.
volume is low.
Hold on, let me just cut off a little bit. Hold on. Oh, can you hear me? I don't know
I
why
can
the volume.
I can hear you, but just that the volume is very low.
Oh, I don't know why the volume's low. I have no idea. But yeah, let me check it again. Okay. Am I back? It wasn't like that before, was it?
Yeah, yeah, it
It
wasn't like
wasn't.
that before. It wasn't like that before.
Yeah. Okay. So I mean, you could hear me at least a little bit, right? At least somewhat.
It wasn't like that before.
Yeah. I don't know what happened. It's probably when I was jumping on and jumping back off, But yeah, they pretty much put a map up on the board and was like, pick a country, pick a country, pick one.
Yeah,
Th-
man.
yeah, that's pretty much what it
Exactly.
was. It was like, yo, pick one. You guys, all of Africa. We have all of Africa. We have all these resources. Pick one. And another thing I wanted to say is like when you when Nigeria was colonized, Nigeria. A lot of people don't know that Nigeria was once like a bunch of countries. You know, like it was
So I did
once.
not get that.
Did you hear me?
No, 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 I did not get that.
Yeah, I was saying like they were saying once Nigeria was a bunch of countries, separate countries. You know.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Um. Well, maybe not countries, but like
Hmm.
nations. Maybe
Nations.
not
There you go.
countries
That's
per
the right.
se, but like nations.
Right.
Yeah, because until 1914, in 1914, they had like an amalgamation of Africa, of Nigeria. So that's where they brought the Northern Conference and the Eastern Conference. So what they did was that because Nigeria was richly blessed because they had like good natural resources and then the British did. They wanted a way to control the whole of Nigeria instead of
Mm-hmm.
instead of sharing, even instead of divide and conquer, they
Yeah.
united all Nigeria into one country, you know, so that they can govern and exploit Nigeria. So historically, and even now, that's why they have
Mm-hmm.
like three major ethnic groups in Nigeria. They have the Yoruba, the Igbo, and the Hausa. And
Mm-hmm.
all
Mm-hmm.
these places are historically nations of their own. You know,
Right.
the Igbos have different culture, different language, different way of life, different food, um, clothing, all that stuff that is unique. And the same thing with the other, ethnic groups as well. So what the British did was that they basically just brought us together and boxed us into being one country, into being one Nigeria. And that is why, even till today, we still can't function as one Nigeria, because
Mm-hmm.
one region would feel like they are being marginalized compared to the other regions. You understand? And that's why in 1967, in 1967, we had like is the only civil war anyway. We had the civil war in Nigeria because I mean, let's not go into the details, but like a certain part of the country felt like the power is always is in one section of the country. You understand? So
Yeah.
they were angry at that, and then they decided to you know remove the person, decided to assassinate, so to say, or
Mm-hmm.
coup. There was a coup at that time, so they removed
Oh,
the
okay.
leader, and that leader is from a why would you remove? And so this and eventually, and then everybody went to, and that time they started to kill the they started to kill the Igbos, and the government were not doing anything about it. So the Igbos felt like, oh, we're not being respected as a people of, like, as citizens of Nigeria. So why don't we create our own country? So that was why they announced, like an announcement that there's a new country, Biafra. So
Mm-hmm.
that's how they created a country, Biafra. Biafra is for the Igbos, you understand? And even
Yeah.
till today, man, like there are still people that feel like they want um they want they want to be self actualized, like an actualization of Biafra basically.
Yeah.
So, man, like it goes. There's a rabbit hole in it, man. Like, and it goes deeper and deeper than that. But the whole construct of all this thing is um just to exploit, just for exploration, basically.
Right. Right.
The white European powers at the time, theirs was just to exploit. They did not really care whether it would work. Theirs is just to or just to take. They were taking. They were taking basically, regardless of how the outcome would be.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely, man. It's it's so much deep, 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 deep historical things, man. It is. It is. And you
Yo,
know,
man, your audio is so low. I'm thinking about getting my headset.
yeah, yeah, you should. I mean, get the headset. I don't know if because I don't know if anybody in the chat could hear me or just so we're clear, but we would it's Yeah, I got the mic on and stuff like that. I don't know. It could be it could be on your side. I don't know.
Chat, can you hear him clearly? Can you hear him clearly? Because I don't know whether it's from my end.
Yeah.
Shout out
Let me
to people that have tuned in, listening to us this wherever. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are, whatever part of the world that you are. This is Continental Ozus, and we're just talking about continental issues, talking about history, talking about everything.
yeah,
And basically, I think one of the things that we might do in future is basically to you know let the chat give us something to talk about, and then we'll just talk about it in the chat. Or we might just do like a question and answer from the chat as well. Hello?
yeah, yeah. It's they like the chat hears me, so
No
we
man, like
good.
it's really low, man. I'm really struggling to hear you.
You gotta put on them headphones, yo. You gotta put on them headphones. The headphones is probably gonna
I think it
like.
has even gone worse. Even if I use my headset, I don't think I'll be able to hear you still.
Oh, okay, okay, okay. Got you, got you.
Yeah, it has gone very bad actually. Just hold on.
Yep,
Let me
yep.
get my
So yeah, this is a picture of the conference that we was talking about. The Berlin Conference. It was all part of the colonization scheme, and pretty much what we talked about was so they don't start war and stuff amongst each other for these resources, because everything at the end of the day was all by force. Like, you know what I mean? Like they didn't even have any. One thing I wanted to highlight out of all of that is they didn't even have any African representatives at that meeting. Back in that time when they did that conference. So of course the agenda is to you know do it anyway, not even get permission to colonize. So you know, and I believe Nigeria gained liberation around 1960. That's less than 100 years. So all the stuff that so I say that to say that I say that to say the way you see Nigeria right now, you know, people think like, oh, but they just started. All these African countries just started governing their lands, not even 100 years ago, governing their own lands. You know what I mean? And there's a lot of things to say. There's a lot of things to say about different leaders in the countries that they're still tied to certain people, and they're not really running the country. And then a lot of corruption, and that's where corruption comes in. They're not really running the country the way they want to. They're running it the way somebody's telling them to run it. Still. So when you implement all these things like military bases and all this stuff like that, that could have some influence, and then they want to
yeah,
come
for
in.
sure.
Yeah, yeah, and it's so much. We don't want to make no accusations, or be conspiracy theorists on here, but I'll always tell you, do your own research. You know what I mean? I'm not going to tell you how I feel about it, as far as what's really going on. But however, you should do your research on it. Just do your research, and you'll see what's going on. So, but it's one of those things where, yeah, it's a setback. You know what I mean? It's a setback. So when there's corruption on the top, like because from what I'm seeing is like not when it comes to Nigeria, there's there's um there's corruption from the top to the bottom. As far as like who does the rules, because the Nigerian rules are there. You know what I mean? It's just a matter of like what rules are they really following? You know what I mean? That's the question. And I'm just questioning it. You know what I mean? So what rules are they really following, and what are they getting away with to cause this corruption? Because that's evident, you know? You know what I mean? There is corruption, and there's corruption all over the world in every country. It's just what type of corruption it is. You know what I mean? What is it? And there's different levels. There's different attributes of it. So, you know, nobody's perfect. That's all I'm saying. But yeah, it's just a matter of finding out the problem, getting to the bottom of the problem, and solving it. Can you hear? You can hear me better now, Nani?
Yeah, I can hear you. I can hear you. But no, actually, I switched to my headset, and I can hear you good on my headset.
Yeah, yeah, that's good because I was just double checking, and yeah, it sounds both of us I could hear both of us on it. So yeah,
Okay.
all
Okay,
right. So
good. And just to touch base, just to speak briefly on the corruption thing and all that stuff. Like you said, like you rightly said, there's corruption everywhere in the world, in every country, in America, in Africa, in Asia, everywhere. But it's just basically the motivation behind the whole corrupt practices. Say for instance, in Africa, I think I'll take Nigeria as an example because I don't really know much about in other African countries. In Nigeria, bad guy.
guy, sharp guy.
In Nigeria, bad guy. So yo man, like in Nigeria, Nigeria is richly blessed with a lot of resources, natural resources, even human resources as well. But it's just the bad leadership. And I'm not even going to say, but like, the current Nigerian president is even said to be like a mole from the US, so to say, from the powers over there.
Hmm.
And these are just the things that we're talking about. Because this is not even a conspiracy theory. This is something that has been researched upon. Like in 2015, Nigeria was going to be like the first $1 billion GDP economy in Africa. Nigeria was on that trajectory, but
Hmm.
certain people did not want that. So what do they do? What do they do?
Hmm. Yeah. What's the exchange rate? Yeah. What you saying the exchange rate was? Hmm.
15 naira.
Wow.
naira. 10 years ago. It's 10 years ago. In 2023, 2022,
Mm-hmm.
even at the time, 2023, yeah, even at the time you came to Nigeria for the
Mm-hmm. 700 and 800 naira. Wow, I didn't even know that.
max for check 2020, and now, you know, it's 1,500, and there's
Wow. Shucks.
that time till now is 1,500 naira. African leaders are mad selfish, and these people, they are in their 80s, and they're trying to like govern, and govern a nation that is crippling. You
Mm-hmm.
understand?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I think there's just a lot of influences. There are just a lot of influences that you know um, external influence, if I may add, that make sure that African countries don't get to the level that we're supposed to get to. And that's why I would say Africans are waking up now. And that's
Mm-hmm.
why they want to join other organizations, say BRICS, for instance, and other stuff that would help them. But to be honest, Africa should just stand on their own. Like Africa has all the resource, like the world needs Africa. Africa don't even need the world like that, because
Right, right.
all the natural resources they use in making, you know, about 80%, 70 to 80% of the world production is from Africa.
Exactly. Exactly.
And there is a pact that I saw. Wasn't a pact, but something from the US document that I saw one time, and it'd be like,
Mm-hmm.
the interest in Africa basically is to exploit Africa. I think in the next
Mm.
conversation, I'll look for that. I'll look for that document, and then maybe we might just highlight it or something,
Yeah, yeah,
so
we'll put
that
it
we
up on
don't.
the on yeah, we'll put it up on the green screen. Like right now
Yeah,
I'm trying to put
yeah,
the
we'll put it up.
yeah, 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 yeah. Like
Mhm.
I'm trying to put
Because
the
the
yeah. Hello, you there? Yeah. Yeah, man, it's serious stuff, man. Look, I mean, wow, you can't really see the chart now. You can't really see the chart, but yeah, man. It's like it's a thing, man. It's really a thing with the GDP and all that, like the with the shucks, the naira. Because when I was over there, it was about 1.7. The naira was about 1.7. Absolutely. And yeah, but definitely, man, it's definitely something that we'll touch more on because we're gonna have more of these. We're gonna have more of these. We'll probably, we'll see how often we'll come on here and talk about things like this because there's so much more to talk about when it comes to this, and this was a really good introduction to it, and you know, bridging the gap, man, bridging the gap. This is the first episode of Bridging the Gap. Conversations, man. This is conversations that we all need to have. And yeah, man, it's conversations that we all need to have. And You know, we were supposed to do like an hour, but we going. It's just so much. It's just so much, man. Even like the whole, because I don't know if you guys had any like terms that Africans called African Americans, but like when I was young, when I was a kid in school, we used to make fun of Africans and say call them African booty scratchers, you know. And then when I think about it now, when I think about it now, when I think about it now, it's like, what the heck is an African booty scratcher? They just come to you and scratch your butt, for a fee. Oh, my butt itch. Come, let me get an African booty scratcher. Yo, listen, man.
You're like
The
that
ignorance
thing
is
is
real,
actually
man.
funny. When I
It's
heard it for
funny
the
though.
first
It's
time,
funny.
it was funny because like, what does that even mean?
Yeah, it is funny, yo.
What does that
And
even mean? But
it,
I think it's just kids being mischievous at times, man. Kids
yeah,
are mischievous at times. As
and
a
we,
kid, you know, if I was African, like
uh-huh.
as African, not if I was African, as a child rather,
Mm,
if somebody said that to me and everybody started laughing, I think I would feel bad. But
right.
when you grow up and think about it, like like what's there about it, man? Like you
Yeah.
see, it doesn't even make sense. You
But and we used to call all the like the we used to call all the dark skinned kids that, like, you African booty scratcher, like all the dark skinned kids. And what people don't realize is, you know, just like us, just like African Americans, we're all different shades, all different colors, all different form. We come in all different forms. So it's like that's one of the things that I almost forgot to touch on is, like, we looked at all, everybody that was darker skin as like, yo, you're an African booty scratcher. And that's what we thought all Africans was, is dark. When you go to South Sudan, those are like one of the most melanated people, but like at the end of the day, they're like they have different stature. Like they're tall. Most of them are tall. They're highly melanated, and but it's just to point that out, just to go on a different. But Africans are, as a whole, come in all different, like, attributes. Like light skin, you'll see a light skin African, brown skin, it all colors. That's the thing, very diverse. But that's what people don't know. That's what we're here for. We're here to bring that, to shed some light on that. But yeah.
know, for sure,
So
for sure.
Nani, so what you think, man? We should cue this in for the day, and then we'll continue. We'll have another episode of Bridging the Gap sometime. We'll have something up time. We're gonna post this so we know this is a thing. You hear me?
Sorry, come again with that. You don't get that. No.
No, I'm saying, like, shall we wrap this up for the day, and then we going like past the hour. There's so much, like I said, thanks for everybody that
Yeah,
joined. There's so much more to talk about with this. Just stay tuned for the next episode of Bridging the Gap. When we have deep conversations about, just the between African Americans and Africans, and just talking about our differences, and talking about how currently people are trying to step away from that. African Americans are starting wanting to step away from that African part of them, and it's in them. So we're here to talk about that and dive deep into that. So we look forward to seeing you guys on another episode of Bridging the Gap. And yeah, definitely, Nani. Anything you have to say, Nani, before we go?
yo, man. Yeah, thank you for joining us. In this episode, this is like the first proper episode of Bridging the Gap. And one thing I'll let people know is that, this is just the first episode. We'll get better, we'll bring more interesting topic, and, the content basically would be a lot better than it is. So, this is just the first one. So thank you very much for tuning in. And
Mm-hmm.
let's basically, take
Yeah.
black people
Mm-hmm.
like Africans,
Absolutely. Absolutely. You know,
Okay.
this is all about coming together as one, and we're gonna be the example of coming together as one, and we're gonna show y'all what we're gonna do with that. All right. We're gonna be the prime example, and we're gonna have episodes like this. We're gonna have more and more episodes like this, just talking deep about it, man. And you know, this is just the first one. First one in, guys. First one in. Thank you for coming. And I want to
Very much.
thank all the subscribers for joining in, and people that people that joined in and watched us and stuck with us. We all appreciate you. Shout out to everybody, and as I always say, early blessings. I want the blessings to carry you throughout your day. You know.
Uh,
All right, Nani King. I'm gonna see you on the next one. All right. I'm gonna see you on the next one. All right, guys. Thank you for joining, and thanks for subscribing. Thanks. Bridging the Gap, episode 1. Over and out. Nani King, I'm gonna see you.